We begin. So, I was thinking about doing this commentary on Nietzsche's Zarathustra. And today I want to focus on the prologue because I think the prologue is the most important part of Nietzsche's Zarathustra. So, here you go. So, let's begin with reading the prologue first. When Zarathustra was 30 years old, he left his home and the lake of his home and went into the mountains. Here he enjoyed his spirit and his solitude, and for 10 years he did not tire of it. But at last a change came over his heart, and one morning he rose with the dawn, stepped before the sun, and spoke to it thus: You great star, what would your happiness be had you not for those whom you shine? For 10 years you have climbed to my cave. You would have tired of your light and of the journey had it not been for me, and my eagle and my serpent. But we waited for you every morning, took your overflow from you, and blessed you for it. Behold, I am weary of my wisdom, like a bee that has gathered too much honey. I need hands outstretched to receive it. I would give away and distribute until the wise among men find joy once again in their folly and the poor in their riches. For I must descend to the depths as you do in the evening, when you go behind the sea and still bring light to the underworld, you overrich star. Like you, I must go under, go down, as it is said by man, to whom I want to descend. So bless me then, you quiet eye, that can look even upon all too great happiness without envy. Bless the cup that wants to overflow, that the water may flow from its golden and carry everywhere the reflection of your delight. Behold, this cup wants to become empty again, and Zarathustra wants to become man again. Thus Zarathustra began to go under. So here we see a lot of things going on. Like, obviously, it looks on the surface that there is a guy called Zarathustra who, when for 10 years, he was in the mountains. So it's like he renounced whatever he was living. We don't know what it was. It's not very clear what he renounced. And he went into the mountains. He lived there for 20 years. And then he got like, you know, he decided that, I want to go and go down to the people from the mountains and give them the wisdom I learned from sitting with myself for 10 years. It's like, that's quite obvious, right? Like, that's what you get. But why did Nietzsche have to go through a lot of these, like, what is he trying to get there? Like, what is he trying to do? Like, why Zarathustra? Like, why the Persian prophet Zarathustra to begin with? What is the sun doing here? Because it's like he's praying to the sun, like like the ancient people pray to the sun, and then like it says something very interesting. He enjoyed, like, there's some kind of hedonistic undertone here. Like, this is kind of a joy. Like, he enjoyed his spirit and his solitude, and for 10 years he did not tire of it. So it's like he was enjoying his life, his spirit, and his solitude for 10 years. He did not tire of it. But at last, a change came over his heart. So it's like, he kind of thought that, I'm enjoying something, but then, like, and then he rose, the dawn stepped before the sun. Like, he said, okay, so what is, he's talking to the sun, right? You great star, what would your happiness be had you not those for whom you shine? Right? So in two ways, his dialogue with the sun, it's like he's talking to the sun, right? Like, every day the sun comes greets him and is blessing him with its light, with its presence, with its overflow or whatever. And Zarathustra is receiving that overflow, and now he's finding joy in his solitude and enjoying his spirit. And then he's talking to the sun and he's telling the sun, what would you be if you didn't have those for whom you shine for? Like he's posing a question to the source of his joy in a certain way. But then it's like the question he poses is also a question to himself, because he is overflowing. Zarathustra is overflowing, and he's asking himself, he is the sun that is overflowing. Like, I have so much. Like, what am I without people to whom I'm going to give? Like, okay, I'm overflowing, but I feel like giving now. That is the change, right? Like, he's giving, so he wants to give, right? So that is a change. And then he's looking at the sun as a kind of an inspiration, right? As a kind of a source of giving, because the sun, like, it just comes, it gives, and then it goes. It gives and it goes, it gives and it goes. And how does it give? By overflowing it. It just overflows by coming up and going, coming up and going, and it just does its own overflowing, right? So for 10 years, you have climbed into my cave. You would have tired of your light. So even his light, even the joy is tiring. Even like joy, right? His own spirit. He did not tire of it, it says, but he says to the sun that you would have tired of it had it not been for me, Zarathustra, and my eagle and my serpent. Because it's like there are three. You already have like like four entities here. So you have the sun, you have Zarathustra, you have the eagle, and you have the serpent, right? So what is the serpent doing there? What is the eagle doing there? Like, where did they come from? It's like, what? Did Zarathustra have like a pet eagle and a pet serpent? Or what was going on? Like, Carl Jung says that both the eagle and the serpent are symbols of the self. Of course, Carl Jung would say that they are symbols of the self. He says the sun is a symbol of the self. I mean, everything is a symbol of the self for Carl Jung, but let me not get there, though, because, like, if you look at the other cultures, like, for example, the Vedic culture, the sun is not just the symbol of the self, but the awakening of the dawn of a new, like, epoch, like, so the many dawns that arise with the waking of, or the rising of the sun, like the sun is like consciousness, like, like coming out of the darkness. So it's like in Indian cosmology or in Indian philosophy, whatever, you have this whole story which says that what is darkness? Darkness is, what happens when there's darkness? What happens when there's darkness is that you mistake something for what it is not. Like, so there is a story where, like you're walking around and then you mistake the snake for a rope, right? And, oh, sorry, the rope for a snake, whatever, right? And so that's what darkness is. Darkness kind of puts you in ignorance. It's like error, like, so when the sun comes, it reveals what is around you, and then you actually see things as they are. So light, sun, is the dawning of awakening to another realm or another form of knowing, which is so like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that this was what it was. So it's another realm of awakening, it's another realm of understanding, it's another realm of consciousness, right? So it's like they would chant hymns to the sun god. It's like even the lightning in the night, like it's also the sun god who's coming as lightning in the darkness, right? So it's like he's penetrating the darkness. So the scriptures are not just like books, or records, or like sayings or whatever. They are light, so that without the scriptures we would be lost, uh, and we wouldn't know like what truth is, or what everything is. We would like what would we know without the light of the sun, right? So, but then like without, like paradoxically, when you go and look at it from the other side, without like Zarathustra, let me talk about the eagle and the serpent next. But without the Zarathustra, his eagle and serpent, the sun would just come and overflow and an overflow and it overflows, and it will not have a response. It will not reveal anything. It will not be a revelator. It will not play the game of a revelator, right? It's not a revelator. It's just an overflowing thing. It's just a thing that overflows, right? So it's like, so he says to the sun, like, for 10 years you have climbed to my cave. You would have tired of your light and of your journey had it not been for me, Zarathustra, because I am having a dialogue with you as a peer, because you are overflowing in your own way and I am overflowing in my own way. I do not tire of my spirit, you know, because I have my eagle and my serpent. And you do not tire of your spirit because you have me, my eagle and my serpent, right? And I have you also. So it's like, it's a peer, like, they are peers, they are like equals, like, and then had it not been for me, my eagle and my serpent. So the eagle here is Zarathustra's, like, I think the eagle is Zarathustra's uh, ability to, like, quantify his, like, his abstract side of uh, life, like thinking, his ability to kind of abstract himself. So, like, in a sense, like coming out, like withdrawing from the world and going to the mountain is actually a form of abstraction. Like you withdraw, you abstract, you get out. So Zarathustra is actually like, the eagle is his ability to successfully, like look at and abstract himself, like, his ability to be abstract successfully. But he also has a serpent. And we know from ancient mythology that serpent is always connected to your instincts, like your procedural memory, right? So your procedural memory is the memory that comes prior to your emotive memory. So there's been a lot of study in trauma studies, especially because, when it comes to psychology, it's always, like pathology that is informative. Like you study the pathological side of a life, and then you kind of extrapolate something out of it. But the whole point is that prior to your emotions, like forming actual emotions, you kind of have this bodily reaction, your instinctive reaction towards life, towards a whole plethora of like input or sensations from your environment, right? So that's why, I'm not going to get into details about it, but those inform your instincts. Those are your instincts, right? Like, so it doesn't have, it is the opposite of being abstract. It is like your embodiment, your embodiment as you are. So it's like both the eagle and the serpent and Zarathustra and the sun have this whole kind of, like a oneness, a unity going on, right? Just one unity. There's just like one thing, like one like continuity. There is no like what do you say? Like they just kind of uh, they are like different keys on the same keyboard doing different things. Like they play a different tune. You can't say that the sun is greater than Zarathustra, who's greater than whatever, right? The eagle and the eagle is greater than the serpent. It's like they all form one tune, like a harmony, right? So, but we waited for you every morning, took your overflow from you, and blessed you for it.